How's it going, my true people? DrSlaking, the Slacking Doctor, back for week 7, I believe, of the UBL, and this week we are taking on my man ChoiceSpecs and his Orlando Magikarps, I'm pretty sure, and I have to address first things first. I apologize that this is so late. I'm guessing you guys are probably watching this on Wednesday, hopefully on Wednesday. It should have been up last Friday, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's right. I apologize for the lateness of this. A couple of things going on, which I will just briefly talk about. There's no team builder. It's not going to be a very long explanation, but basically, first things first was that there just weren't any recorders around who were able to record the game before the Friday deadline for uploads. I did play the game comfortably before the deadline. It just happened that all the recorders in UBL were busy. That happens sometimes. It can't be helped. And then the second thing on top of that is that, which goes into why there was no team builder for this. I'm playing in a lot of leagues at the minute off the channel as well, making sure I keep sharp and stuff, but I just felt like at this point in the season I was starting to hit burnout a little bit. I was just starting to take everything very, very competitively, very, very seriously, and it was just starting to not be as enjoyable a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. So for this week, the reason there was no team builder as well is because we brought some more fun sets. These sets are a little bit more heat, a little bit more wacky, a little bit more adventurous, just to try and freshen it up and just trying to keep myself enjoying the game. I'm still very much here looking to win because, in essence, a win here would pretty much lock ourselves in playoffs. It would put us at a 6-1 record if we could win here, and I don't think any team that finished 6-5 won't be in playoffs. So I know that there's a huge incentive to win this game, but with 4 games left, as only really needing 1 to 2 wins from those 4 games, and the fact that I was just hitting burnout a little bit, I was like, let's have some fun. They're still proper sets. This is still a game that I'm here to win, but they're just more fun. You can see a Garbodor down there on our team and stuff like that. But as such, there is no team builder because the building wasn't as extensive. It wasn't as thorough. There were no mocks. There wasn't the same level of preparation that there normally is for my games. Regardless, we're going to jump into this. We're going to talk about this game. I should thank Root for recording my battle for me. He bailed me out. Thank you so much to him for recording the game. And I should thank Aquarius, who is staying with me currently and did help me prep a little bit for this game. Like I said, but we kind of just threw some stuff together, and I said, I shouldn't run this, should I? They said no, and then I ran it anyway. So that's kind of how it goes sometimes. So let's talk about the team. Let's not waste any more time. We have a Quick Claw Infernape here with Fake Out, Flamethrower, Focus Blast, and I can't remember the 4th move, but I know it's rubbish. I think it's like Vacuum Wave or something. Either way, one thing I can tell you is that it's not Grass Knot. I know that much. It's not Nasty Plot either. It might be Vacuum Wave. But the idea of this set was that I could counter a lead. I wanted to call this thing all sorts of spider names that aren't the same. Galvantula. I can counter a lead Galvantula, get the Fake Out off on its break its sash, and then we speed tie. But I have my Quick Claw, and if my Quick Claw pops on my Flamethrower, then I will prevent that thing from getting webs up. Basically means instead of having a 50-50 speed tie, I have like a 60-40 speed tie. Like I said, it genuinely could come in really useful, but it's still pretty memey, right? It's still not the most optimal set I could have ran. But nevertheless, I just feel like that would be a good way of trying to prevent webs to go up because I have no removal on this team and webs will just make me lose the game. So I definitely want to try and stop them from going up. Then we have a Fizz Def, I think Rocky Helmet, Garbodor. Gareth is making his debut in the UBL this season. We haven't used Garbodor all season, but now it's here. For these last few weeks, I want to try and bring on ones that we haven't used all season and ones that have been underrepresented. You can see Glalie on the team as well this week because Glalie hasn't got enough screen time. So, this is a Spikes stack. T-Spikes. I think it's T-Spikes, Spikes, Gunk Shot, Haze. Mono walled by Mawile, but does have Haze, so Mawile can't set up on me. I don't know. Rocky Helmet plus Aftermath means we are going to chunk down things like the Mawile and the Dragonite. Then we have a Metagross here, which I think is Sugarberry Ice Punch. Can take on the Dragonite pretty well. A standard Metagross to take on a Dragonite, really. Especially if we can break its multi-scale. Ice Shard here on our Glalie means we can also then take on the Dragonite, unless it's at like +3, I think it is. It can't, no, +4. I think it has to be at +4 to OHKO with E-Speed. So as long as rocks aren't up and we're at full, there shouldn't be any reason the Dragonite's ever getting to +4 on my team. And I should always be able to Ice Shard it and out-prioritize any other moves barring E-Speed. Then we have Salamence here. This is a Scarf Salamence. This is my win con against my opponent's team. You may notice I didn't mention Freeze Dry and Glalie. I think we're like Ice Shard, Return, Spikes, Earthquake. Yeah, I can't hit Milotic. This thing maybe has Thunder Punch. I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't do a lot to Fizz Def Milotic. Gunk Shot's doing nothing to Milotic. So this is my way of beating to Milotic. It is Scarf Special Ments with Draco Meteor, and I think it gets Thunder. I think we even had Thunder on this set. I'm kind of going to be reacting to this game a little bit. I don't remember the game super well. I'm just going to be enjoying this one. It's just way more chilled out, way more laid back kind of video. We will be getting back to the more like ultra competitive focused content shortly. But for this week, we're just going to have a bit more fun with it. And then last up, we just probably have Rocks Palisand. That's what Palisand does really bloody well. Since I've traded for it, it just gets Rocks up. It has a good defensive typing, really. Just very, very reliable rocker. I've really enjoyed using Palisand in that sense. As a budget kind of tier 5 option in a lot of leagues, I think Palisand is massively underexplored. So my opponent's team, the major threats are the Milotic. I've got to keep my settlements around to be able to beat that thing. But other than that, the only real other thing I'm worried about is a setup Dragonite or potential Mawile under Rocks. But if I have Ape healthy, then Mawile's never going to beat me. +2 Sucker Punch still isn't doing that much to Infernape. So all I've got to do is play very carefully, keep my offensive pressure mons that are crucial to winning this matchup, and hopefully we can figure this game out. It's going to be tough though. So my opponent doesn't lead with a Galvantula, so my Quick Claw already is useless. that didn't take very long to invalidate one of my sets, but this is not the point. I mean, Infernape still has a good matchup here. Focus Blast plus Flamethrower is still good coverage against my opponent's team. I didn't want to take anything from this Arcanine as my Focus Blast was. Yes, it probably does 2-hit KO if it's Death Arcanine. It wasn't worth it. So we're going to Crystal instead, and this gives me a chance to just get my rocks up. This is something that I want to do as soon as possible to break the multi-scale in this Dragonite. Now, unfortunately, my opponent makes a great play going hard Dragonite, and I'm now in a bit of a tricky spot. Excuse me, just taking a drink. Yeah, I'm in a bit of a toughy spot, because I do not want to take a move from this thing particularly. Crystal is still pretty useful in this matchup, and I feel like I might need it for things like the Arcanine and stuff later on, Status Absorber now that it's already been Toxic. So I'm just going to go straight into Metagross. I can still Ice Punch into Ice Shard this thing all day. The most this thing could get to is +2 on me, because when I Ice Punch it here, I will KO it with the next Ice Punch. So as you can see, it goes +2, that's fine. +2 E-Speed never kills Glalie. I'm happy to let Big Steve go down to take out a major threat on my opponent's team. I don't mind that. So we are just going to fire off the Ice Punch here. And as you can see, that does about 50%. But we pop a weakness policy. And I genuinely was like, oh, I could send Headbutt here. I could Meteor Mash here. And then I just didn't. I just Ice Punched. I didn't want to miss and stuff. But yeah, that's bad. +4 will be able to KO my my Glalie with the E-Speed, so I'm going to pivot out into Emiliano here and get the Intimidate. This thing now is only at +3, which means it can't Oko my Mega Glalie with the E-Speed. I thought about going back into Metagross here on the Dragon Claw and just sacking off Metagross, because Salamence is really a win con in this game, but I was like, if I do that, and this man E-Speeds, this man Dragon Dances again, that's the whole game. There's no coming back. Nothing's doing anything. This thing is just winning. I mean, maybe I could try and do something with like Fake Out into Rocky Helmet Aftermath. Maybe. But I didn't want to risk Dragon Dance or Roost. Roost would also be an absolute nightmare. So I just sack off Salamence here. Yeah, I think I could have been smarter and I could have just gone into Metagross there, because I don't think anyone in their right mind Dragon Dances in front of a Salamence, but I just bottled it a bit. So regardless, we're going to go to Risa, and this is exactly why I needed that Intimidate. We are now looking at that Milotic and being very, very concerned. I need to start hazard stacking as soon as possible, otherwise I am going to lose to that Milotic, desperately going to lose to that Milotic. So we're just going to get the Ice Shard off here. My man doesn't go for the E-Speed. I did speak to him after the game, and he did have the E-Speed. Shout out to Root, by the way, for having the little HP bar up for me to use when we're talking. That's pretty nice. I've never had that before in a post-comp. It's pretty useful. Yeah, obviously don't have it when I play the games either. I always look at people that have them and think, wow, that must be so useful. Anyway, the Milotic does come out here before we've had this stacked, and I'm like, okay, if I see a Flame Orb pop on this thing, might be the whole game. I don't know how I'm going to break it. I don't have anything to really break it with. Regardless, I'm just going to start spike stacking, because the only thing I can really think to do is to force this Milotic out and potentially win that way as he reveals the light screen. And I'm just like, oh, that is the last thing I want to see as the Flame Orb pops, because now my Focus Blast is not doing anything. And this thing is physically bulky enough to take all of my physical hits, and I sacked my Salamence. So I'm just like, okay, I just mono lose to this Milotic as he fires off the Scold. Luckily, we don't get burnt as we get another layer of spikes up. Here, I think I fire off the third layer of spikes. May as well have the stack right. At this point, my whole game plan is just to stall out the light screen, Focus Blast this thing, maybe get a Spadef drop. and then Focus Blast again. I gotta land 2 Focus Blasts, and I probably need this for Death Drop. But, you know, if I can stall out the light screen, maybe I can do a chunk with Focus Blast. Anyway, here I'm just gonna go for the return. I've got all 3 layers of spikes up. If I can find a way to break this thing, and that return does enough, then I might be in good shape. Had he scolded there, I don't know, maybe I could have taken him out of the Focus Blast crit or something. I don't know. I think Fake Out plus Burn Chip from that range into Focus Blast definitely KO'd. That was my game plan there. But he did make the correct play, just going for the recover on my return, getting himself back to as good a range of health as possible as Orisa goes down this turn. I'm like, okay, well, my play is still to go into Infernape. It is still to click Fake Out, as his light screen does wear off there. It is still to take that extra 6% from the Flame Orb. That burn chip matters, right? I need every little bit of chip I can get on this thing because I don't have a good way to break this. He can't realistically recover in front of me, and he might fear the Grass Knot / Power Herb Solar Beam. So I'm hoping he just switches out here. I'm hoping he's just like, I have an Arcanine, I won't stay in. He doesn't as I go for the Focus Blast, and I'm like, alright, don't recover, click Scold, and we're in business. He clicks Recover, and I'm like, okay, whew, that's not what I needed to see there. That's pretty problematic. I nearly brought Absorb Bulb on one of these sets. I don't know if it was this one. Maybe that was next week that I was going to run Absorb Bulb. Regardless, I definitely was considering if one of the matchups coming up. And right now I'm like, damn, I wish I'd run Absorb Bulb because then I would have really chunked this thing if he goes for the Scold. But he just goes for the Recover as I go out to Big Steve. The reason I go into Big Steve here is that I need to chip this thing down again so that I can do the Fake Out into Focus Blast shenanigans again. I don't really have a lot of choice. I'm just going to go for Zen Head, but I may as well try and flinch this thing down. It's not likely, as you see, that's doing about 20%. But if I can maybe get, you know, a crucial bit of chip off on this thing, if I can get him to misplay, excuse me, and either switch out or recover on the wrong turn or whatever, or Scold on the wrong turn, sorry, then maybe I can do something here. I'm kind of desperate, in case you can't tell, I'm kind of desperate. Now I try and sack this thing, thinking that if I can sack this to the Scold, I can get Infernape back in before he clicks Recover, and then this thing will be really, really low, which is fantastic for Infernape. As you can see, this thing's going down to about 55, no, 60? Is that 60? I don't know how this thing works. That's about 60, I think. I don't know. Regardless, I'm just like, if I can try and get it as low as possible, then that would be great for Infernape. Unfortunately, we don't die to his Scold on the switch in. But our Earth Power does about the same anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. We get to fire off a bigger Earth Power, and that's what is significant. We get off the chip to put him about the range that he would have, maybe it would have been a little bit lower if we died to Scold, but regardless, it's pretty close. We're now going to repeat the same shenanigans we just repeated. We're going to click Fake Out into Focus Blast, and, you know, maybe we can get us for Death Drop or a crit, or he can Scold. But he actually switches out, which is phenomenal. Phenomenal. I don't know if that was a roll to kill with the Fake Out into Focus Blast. Couldn't tell you. But regardless, we get him switch out, and now we have 3 layers of spikes up and stealth rocks. And as you can see, this Arcanine's coming in and taking all of that damage. I'm just going to go with the Focus Blast here and trust in my Wukong to land it. Unfortunately, he forgot his glasses this week, so we do miss the Focus Blast and we get poisoned for our tribbles. That isn't the end of the world, so long as we never let Milotic recover up again. This thing has kind of served its purpose by eventually just scaring out that Milotic. I completely understand why he switched out. I really don't know if the Fake Out into Focus Blast would have killed. As you see, we kind of missed our next Focus Blast anyway, but there's no way he could have predicted that. Here we just go for the Focus Blast, and we get some big chip off on the Arcanine. And I think here I can kill with whatever my third move is, so we might get to find out what it is. Nope, apparently I can't. Don't know what it was. No idea. Regardless, we're going to pivot out into Garbodor here, because I think I'm just like, okay, I'm going to get all my hazards up on this thing. He's pretty low. He's not doing too much. I might even be able to kill him with Rocky Helmet here. Is that what I'm doing? I'm just going to kill him with Rocky Helmet. Gareth coming through. Good old Gareth. Proving that he's not complete trash. If he goes into Milotic here and clicks Recover, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be screwed. But he wouldn't be too high, I guess. With all the spikes and stuff, he'd still be pretty low. And I could probably go hard Ape and Fake Out into Focus Blast. But he does go into Mawile. And as I said before, I am hard-walled by Mawile. Here, I think I just T-Spike. Although I don't even really need T-Spikes that much. No, I haze. I haze thinking that I might be slower than him and he might SD. But I'm faster than him, so I just look like a moron. Just look like an absolute moron as he goes for Stealth Rocks. And I'm like, okay, that didn't work. The good news is, if he ever clicks Swords Dance, I will outspeed, and of course he can't Sucker Punch someone clicking Haze. Here I'm just going to go for the T-Spikes as he predicts me to attack him. And goes to Sucker Punch, so really, we both burn a turn there. The T-Spikes are up now, and that's really good for wearing things down like Bulu, and wearing things down like Galvantula, breaking that. Well, that thing's Sash is already broken by the other hazards, but you know what I mean. It's just basically going to chip everything down. He doesn't have any defog on his team. That's why hazard stack looks so good in this matchup, because Dragonite is not a defogger. So I knew that I could just get him up and they would stay up in this matchup. Here he goes for Sucker Punch as I go for the Gunk Shot, I think, just in case he wanted to try and switch. It works out perfectly where he basically takes Rocky Helmet plus Aftermath. I had no reason not to. It didn't matter if he played Roughed or if he Sucker Punched me. Either way, he took the same amount of chip damage. And Wukong can come in here and click Flamethrower and guarantee the KO. He can Sucker Punch me. It doesn't matter. I couldn't fake out there because the extra round of poison might have put me in range of Sucker Punch, but I can always Flamethrower here and pick up the KO, and I'm happy to lose Infernape here because he can't bring in Milotic on this thing. He's already seen that I can just click Fake Out and... Oh, sorry, I can click Focus Blast and potentially KO that thing. So really he has to go out into either the Galvantula or the Bulu, but he does go out the Milotic, and I'm like, okay, I gotta land my Focus Blast because I cannot let this thing recover up. If this thing recovers up, that's GG. We do land our Focus Blast, so Abe coming through with 2 KOs in this game. Whew, that one was the Focus Blast that really mattered, because if he clicked Recover there, that was the whole game. And now we're in a position where he just has the Bulu and the Galvantula left. I have 2 layers of T-Spikes, I have 3 layers of Spikes, and I have Stealth Rocks. And I have Big Steve right here. And Big Steve is ready for this endgame. So I'm in a really, really good spot. I'm a pretty speedy Metagross, so I should be able to get a Meteor Mash off into this Bulu. And assuming that he isn't Babiri Berry, I should just Oko this thing. I might even kill 3 Babiri Berry, honestly. I don't know the calcs off the top of my head. But we are a pretty strong Big Steve here. So I fire off the Meteor Mash, and we miss as he fires off the big Wood Hammer. That is going to do a hell of a lot because Bulu is so strong. I think this is probably a banded set from that damage. And in grassy terrain, Bulu with Wood Hammer just hits like an absolute truck. So put me in a really tough spot. I could have gone for the Bullet Punch there. We did have that on the set. I could have gone for that first. But Bullet Punch wasn't a guaranteed KO where Meteor Mash was if it landed. So my best play was always just a Meteor Mash. I have to go for it again. If we miss another Mash, we're going to be in real trouble here. But we actually land the second one. We pick up the KO on Bulu and we get the +1 attack. Now the +1 attack is going to be completely inconsequential. Bullet Punch is not going to be able to KO Galvantula even after all the chip it's taking. So it's all going to come down to this Galvantula and what his spread is. From the range of health we are at here, I think we're at like, what, 45, 50 HP, something like that. We're at 65 HP. From 65 HP, I did the calcs. There was no reason for me to really do the calcs because I was about to see what it was anyway, but I did the calcs. If he was modest, then I believe it was a strong roll in his favour to KO. If he was Specs or Life Orb, then I believe he always KO'd. Certainly Specs always KO'd, I think. If he was Specs modest, he definitely did. If he was Timid, Focus Sash, or Timid, no boosting item, then his Thunder here will only have a 6.3 or whatever it is, 6 point something % chance to KO. So all I can do, and it is worth noting that we did miss that Meteor Mash on Bulu, which really sucks because had I landed the first Meteor Mash on Bulu and just clean KO'd it, then this Galvantula would never have KO'd me with anything. I would have got a turn of grassy terrain, I would have been at such a good range of health. This thing, even Specs would never KO me here. However, we did miss. So it's all going to come down to potentially a 6% chance. That's all I can hope on, is that I have the 94% chance to win here after just missing a, I think, 10 or 15% move. I'm not explaining this very well. I missed Meteor Mash, which is like a 90% accurate move, I think. If he kills me here, he's got the 6% roll. So the chances of those happening back to back would be so slim if he is not a boosting item. So that's what's going through my head. I'm like, come on, if he's not a boosting item, you've got to give me the odds. You have to give me the odds. And right now, as I'm playing this game, I'm sat just down there. I'm sat on the floor with my DS up in front of me. There's like a black box there, you guys can't see it, it's full of DVDs and video games. It was sat up there at eye level, and I was just sat there with my fingers crossed, just like, please don't be a boosting item, and please do not get a 6% roll against me after I missed that Meteor Mash. He goes for the Thunder. He lands it. Of course, he had to land it as well because it can miss. And Big Steve lives on 1 and Ice Punches a Galvantula for the KO. He was no boosting item. He got like the second highest roll possible, I guess, or one of the highest rolls possible to make us live on 1 HP. That grassy terrain coming in clutch. Just making us live there. If he'd got a higher roll with Dragonite earlier, if he'd got a higher roll with Bulu, if he'd got a slightly higher roll with Galvantula, we would have lost that game. But it all just worked out for us to get the 1-0 victory with 1 HP remaining. I've never had a game that close, never. I've never had an 0-0 win, I don't think, and I've certainly never had a 1 HP win. So, yeah, that was insane. Absolutely insane. So much fun, and that's really what I needed this week. Like, with everything else, just the burnout that I was feeling with everything, like, I just needed a fun game that was just, like, less competitive, less me, like, spending hours and hours building, hours and hours mocking, and more just, like, let's enjoy playing Mons again, and that's exactly what this game gave me. So shout out to ChoiceSpecs for a fantastic battle. It was so much fun. And yeah, your Bowland Bovines moved to a 6-1 record, keeping us tied for the top seed at the minute with OPJellicent. I believe the two of us are tied for the top seed right now, so yeah, just such a fun season so far. I've loved every minute of the UBL, and I'm really, really happy to pick up another dub. We are all but locked for playoffs now, to be perfectly honest. I don't see a 6-5 team not making playoffs, so even if we lose out from here, I think we'll be fine. In fact, have we got 4 games left? Vepsis, Choice CJ, and SilverBeanie. I think we only have 3 games left, so I think it would be a 6-4 team, potentially. So, like, I don't see us not making playoffs on that record. I think it's only a 10-week season, so yeah, with that being said, guys, hopefully you guys are still looking forward to the rest of the weeks. I will still be bringing proper teams. You know, this was still a proper team. Hazardstack still had a great matchup against my opponent because of his lack of good removal, so it wasn't like I completely just lost my mind and decided to run memes. This was still a serious game. It was just a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit more laid back. That might be the case for the last 3 weeks as well, but hopefully you guys are looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I know I enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for loafing around with me, and I'll catch you again next time.